Part 3 of the trade deadline preview is here. Welcome to the Just Baseball Show. It is Thursday, July 25th. You got Jack McMullen and I am Peter Apple. So what we're going to do, just like we did for the American League Central and the American League East, we're going to go through each team in the American League West. We're going to identify buyers or sellers. For the buyers, I got a couple mock trades that I'm going to throw at Jack. And then for the sellers, we're going to identify those trade chips and potentially where they could land. And then on top of it, we got a couple of headlines to hit, including my GOAT, Cal Quantrill, sticking it to the Boston Red Sox. But remember, it's all brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. All you got to do, we're going to download BetMGM on iOS or Android, and then use code JustBaseball. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if it loses. So if you place a bet after using code JustBaseball on BetMGM and it loses, you'll get that amount that you placed on that wager back in bonus bets up to $1,500. It's an absolute no-brainer. But remember, gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older. Terms and conditions apply. Jack, before we press the record button, you looked at me and you said a certain player was a legend. Welcome to the bandwagon.
I'm here. I saw Arm's tweet. Arm's here too. Cal Quantrill, I'm on the bandwagon. That was awesome. If you want to know what he said to Reese McGuire, go on Twitter. And if you want to know the context, search Reese McGuire. We're not going to talk about the actual verbatim what Quantrill said, but it was legendary to that guy. That was a display of emotion that I didn't know Cal had in him, but there's a reason he's King Cal, man. And that was sick. I was all about it.
It's a big day in my life. I don't think you and Arm really get it.
How can I make it about me?
This is a big day for me.
Yeah.
The Cal Quantrill thing was more about me than a lot of fans want to understand.
Yeah, for sure.
Finally showing the fight. I mean, we saw it in Cleveland. If you've been a Cal guy, you know. If you've been a Cal truther, you've been right the entire time, and you're probably pretty handsome or pretty, depending on your gender. Whatever your gender is, if you're a Cal person, you're my friend.
Would you call yourself handsome or pretty?
Well, I've been a Cal Quantrill truther, so it's hard not to say both.
Yeah, fair.
Legendary stuff from the guy. Absolutely legendary. And I'm glad that you and Arm are finally, after years, coming on the bandwagon. Even though he's a friend of the show, he's going to be on the show again. And he's been dicing. Do you know since 2021, he's thrown 544 innings to a 3.75 ERA? Pablo Lopez has thrown 587 innings to a 3.81 ERA. Just going to leave that there for the audience. Just going to leave it. See what you do with it. And if you buy into it, like I said, you're probably handsome or pretty. And if you don't, well.
Yeah. I saw your social media spat with somebody about his underwhelming 2023 season, but you're right, man. I mean, Get Out's savant in 22, Get Out's savant at Coors in 2024. This guy's got it. And man, like that display of fire at that guy, at Reese McGuire, was like hilarious to me. I know we're going to get to somebody in the other dugout here in a moment, because it was Rockies Red Sox. Like,
yeah.
How does Rockies Red Sox give us a benches clearing brawl? Like, that was so good.
When the score was 8-2, was it like?
Yeah, I know.
That's normally when bench clearing brawls happen, when one team's kind of getting blown out and there's fire on either side.
For sure, because there's nothing to lose at that point. I know we're going to get to a guy in another dugout, but I want to talk about the NL Central for a minute, because you, Aram, and Colby are logging a bunch of road miles. I'm logging road miles to meet you guys in one spot, but I'm not holding a candle to what you're going to put on a rental car here, because you guys are ripping the tour of all tours. NL Central Stadium Tour. And there is a flash sale that has been extended to tonight, Thursday night. You get 50% off the flash sale. And again, use our promo code to lower the ticket price to $25 to come join us in Snapback Sports Monday evening in Milwaukee. So July 29th in Milwaukee, Tuesday night in St. Louis, Wednesday night in Cincinnati, Thursday night in Chicago, or Friday night in Pittsburgh. This is going to be awesome. You guys are ripping 5 games in 5 days. Whole bunch of perks that you can see in our episode description. Link to buy tickets is in our episode description as well. But this flash sale is too good to be true. And I would jump on this now.
Yes, it is the flash sale. So normally these tickets were $60, but it's not just you're just buying for a ticket and you're going to hang out with us at the game. First of all, you get an underdog fantasy credit. You get a $15 homage gift card. You get a bunch of hats. You'll be in our content. There will be a signed giveaway for a lucky fan. There will be food and drink vouchers for lucky fans. One fan can actually win batting practice on the field. And you also get a $200 homage care package for a lucky fan. So everybody's getting an underdog fantasy credit. Everybody's getting a homage gift card. Everybody's getting apparel. But then on top of it, you'll be in the drawing to either get signed memorabilia, food or drink vouchers, batting practice, or a $200 homage care package. And then on top of it, we're all going to be watching the game together.
Yeah.
So it's not 60 anymore. It's $30. And then if you use code JustBaseball to get a ticket, not only do you get all that, you get tickets to the seats. And with that code, you take $5 off. So it's $25 in total. But again, flash sale only lasts until Thursday night. So if you want to come, Cubs fans, that game is almost sold out. So shout out the Cubs fans. But if we're talking the Brewers and Cardinals fans, those are the two games that we're not seeing as many tickets being sold. We need the Brewers fans to step up. We need Cardinals fans to step up and come with us. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait for it. Are you going to be there in Milwaukee to stand up to the Brewers fans?
Yeah, I'll be there in Milwaukee. Why would I stand up to Brewers fans?
Not stand up, but you've been a
I'll
little
be with Brewers fans.
anti-Brewers. You've been a little anti-Brewers.
I'm
I've been a little
anti-Dallas
pro-Brewers.
Keuchel starting games. I'm not anti-Brewers. I'm pro Willie Adames playing short. That Yelich report made me so sad. Adam McCalvey of MLB.com said Yelich is pondering course of action for back issues, and one of the possible courses of action is season-ending surgery. That makes me so, so sad. This guy's dealt with back issues, what, each of the last 4 seasons, and it has totally zapped him, which sucks. But I mean, this guy was an all-star this year, and I'm hoping that, it isn't season-ending surgery that this results in, but I'm here for Brewers fans. I'm just not here for the Brewers starting rotation. Like, Rob Zastryzny opened the game. Great guy, Rob Zastryzny. But like starting a game against Justin Steele at Wrigley, we sure?
Who won?
I know. Damn it.
That's the
Like this is so brutal for me.
I know.
Just
I,
doesn't make sense. This game is brutal.
it's
Brutal,
brutal.
man.
It's brutal, but I believe in Brewers Nation. So Brewers Nation, I'd love to see you guys there. Cardinals, but of course, Reds, Cubs, Pirates fans, we'd love to see you guys at the stadium. Now is the time to buy tickets. $25, normally 60, down to 30, and then if you use code JustBaseball, $5 off. Tons of giveaways, seats with us. Let's go to some games together. We were just talking about the Red Sox and Rockies, and another headline from that dugout, not quite as fiery, but still great. Alex Cora signed a 3-year, about $7 million per, totaling about $21 million to be the manager, stay the manager for the Boston Red Sox. Now, this guy's got a .540 winning percentage with the Red Sox in his tenure since 2018. Not tenure, technically, because he hasn't spent 10 years, but regardless. And he's got a World Series ring. And then this year, a year in maybe Red Sox fans thought they would compete, but I don't think they'd be at this spot right now. Got to give Alex Cora credit. I still think he's one of the better managers in the American League. Do I agree with spending a ton of money on managers? Not particularly. But if you're going to spend the money and you have it in the budget, Alex Cora is the guy to keep. I think the Red Sox hit a home run here.
If you got it in the budget, and we're talking about the Boston Red Sox not signing players because they are out of budget, and we're talking about a manager that just got $7 million a year. My firm stance on Craig Counsell is no baseball manager should ever make $8 million a year. I'm totally fine with them making 7, just not 8. But like the big difference here is Counsell got a 5-year deal at 8. 3 at 7 is a bit more palatable for me. Is it still way too much money for a baseball manager? I think so, yeah. But at the end of the day, this guy has done wonders for the Boston Red Sox, and it's clear that he is a player's manager. Listen, I don't know what the clubhouse is like in Chicago for Counsell. Doesn't seem like he's a miracle worker, does it? I don't think there's any manager in baseball that is a miracle worker. I think the closest thing to it was like a Jim Leland or a shit like reading about Billy Martin. I think that is the closest thing to miracle worker.
You know who I thought was a miracle worker, and I was interested to see how they do this year is Bruce Bochy. Right, he
Bochy.
gets there and they win a title, but then this year
Yeah,
they've struggled. So it's
it kind
tough.
of it kind of
Tough.
helps to have a $500 million middle infield, right?
That's a good point.
Like it kind of helps to have a
Yes.
$325 million shortstop
Well,
and a
technically,
$175 million second baseman.
it's true. The Red Sox did spend a lot of money on their shortstop. He just hasn't played for them,
He
which is
just
not
hasn't
our
played.
fault.
And like they're running out David Hamilton, who swiped a ton of bags at Texas. Good for David Hamilton. Man, he's hitting the ball way better than I was expecting him to. That rotation was way better than I was expecting it to be. And at the end of the day, man, like you need a vibe curator in that role. And I think Alex Cora is one of the better vibe curators in baseball. I think Stephen Vogt has quickly entered that conversation. But Cora has long been one of those guys that was a steadying presence. He was huge for them in 18, and I'm excited to see what this looks like for him.
Absolutely. So you ready to jump into the trade deadline preview?
Let's do it.
All right. We got the American League West. We're going to go from top to bottom as the current standings as we sit here today on Wednesday, July 24th. We have not factored in today's games again on Wednesday. So when I read you the records, those are the records as of Wednesday, July 24th. So we'll start with the Houston Astros, who are 52 and 49, a plus 42 run differential. Jack, I think we both identified them as buyers, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So I identified the three needs. Starting pitching. Number one, it's clear. Ronel Blanco, Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown, Spencer Arrighetti, and Jake Bloss is their current rotation. That's not good enough. Luckily, they have Justin Verlander returning on Friday, and Luis Garcia should be returning soon. He threw 31 pitches in a bullpen on Monday. So hopefully you'll get him back in about a month. But still, I think we need some starting pitching here, especially because Framber Valdez has not elevated himself to true ace in this league. I think he's a very solid number two. Ronel Blanco, I think, is a solid three. Hunter Brown, I think the same kind of breath, more of a three. They don't really have an ace, but you're able to go get one at this deadline who is at least Valdez, Brown, Blanco adjacent, and then you can go bargain hunting in the bullpen and create a good playoff pitching staff. I also think that they need a first baseman. John Singleton is slugging 345 right now.
Yeah.
That's not going to do. Joey Loperfido, I do like as a player, and I like him in a role where he's playing all over the diamond, whether that be left field, center field, right field, also can play first base, can kind of play anywhere. But again, he slugs 370 right now. We need a big bopper in this lineup. This isn't even last year when Jose Abreu was at least showing some power. So I got a couple of mock trades. But do you disagree with any of the needs, or do you think they need something more that I didn't mention?
No, the only thing that I will push back on is I don't know if there is a Framber Ronel Blanco adjacent out there that they can go acquire with the farm system that they have.
Interesting. I got a mock trade. So you tell me. You tell me if they can't do it.
Yeah.
So the first one is trading for Jack Flaherty. The Houston Astros trading for Jack Flaherty from the Detroit Tigers in exchange for Bryce Matthews, who's a shortstop prospect for the Houston Astros, who's still pretty good. And he would, I guess, be the heir to Javier Baez because the Tigers farm system does not have depth when it comes to the shortstop position. And I'm sure they would like a guy who's hitting as well as he has. And Colton Gordon, who's an MLB ready left-handed pitcher, who I looked at the numbers is pitching pretty well in AAA right now. Do you think it's going to cost more than those two guys for half of a season of Jack Flaherty?
Yeah, I do, unfortunately, because those guys like you don't have a top 100 prospect in there.
Mhm.
Aram and I were talking about this on the AL Central show. I think Jack Flaherty will cost a team two top 10 prospects in their organization. And these are two top 10 prospects in the Astros organization, but I don't know that both of those guys slot into the top 10 Tigers prospects. I think that the Tigers are going to net two top 10 guys in their farm system. I don't think that's there. I think they can make a move for a third. And might I point you in the direction of Shea Whitcomb? And I know that that totally zaps the shortstop depth for the Houston Astros, but like Jeremy Pena's there. I think you can replenish if you need somebody, you can sign somebody. Whitcomb would be the sweetener. He's 25 years old. He's got a 920 OPS in AAA this year. 89 games. This guy's hitting 297, 20 homers, 24 bags in 89 games. He's an older prospect. He's not much of a prospect in general. He's just a good AAA shortstop that can fill in and play shortstop for the Detroit Tigers next year. You can try that. And I think the quantity there of two infield options in Whitcomb and Matthews can get it done, along with Colton Gordon. So I would like that if you add Shea Whitcomb.
Is that a non-starter for the Tigers? Because you brought up some good points, and I agree. I think if you add Whitcomb, we could say the job is done, the deal is done. But I'm wondering if they say we need Baez or we need Milton. And like if either of those two are not in the deal, like you're just not getting Jack Flaherty. Do you think they would say that? I personally don't. But the reason I brought Bryce Matthews as the top of the package is, do you think that they need one of those two guys or no deal?
No, I don't think so. It's
Okay.
Jack Flaherty. Like,
Yeah, it's like, and it's also like 3 months of Jack Flaherty. I just don't think that the package is going to be enormous. I think this is a pretty good deal. If you throw Wickham at the end of this deal, they get 3 prospects, and Bryce Matthews is a good prospect. Like, I know the Astros don't have a great system, but this guy is arguably their 3rd best prospect, would you say?
who? Bryce Matthews?
Yes.
DeCenzo might be better. He's top 5, probably.
Top 5, probably.
Yeah, top 5. Colton Gordon is probably just outside the top 10 or in that 10 range. And then Whitcomb, like, Whitcomb's weird because, again, he's 25 years old. He's about to turn 26 years old, but that's a guy that can, like, play shortstop next year when they DFA Baez in spring training, that kind of thing.
The way I'm talking right now, it makes sense for the Astros to get Flaherty, but it makes me think that the Astros are not going to get Jack Flaherty if this is the deal that they would offer. I feel like someone would sense
somebody's going to do better. I do think that somebody's going to do better, and I think that the Astros might look for a lighter return type guy. Like, I think they might look at a Yusei Kikuchi, who's not going to cost as much.
Yeah.
I think they could look at a I don't know, like maybe a Trevor Rogers, I guess. Just people like that. I think they're going to look for 4s here because if they run out a postseason 4 of Fromber, Verlander if he's healthy, Brown, Blanco, and then Luis Garcia is that swingman.
Yeah.
I feel really good about that. I think you
Yeah.
just need guys to get you through that aren't Arrighetti or Bloss. And I don't think you need to pay this premium for Flaherty because there's going to be a premium paid for Jack Flaherty.
I think you're right. I don't want to trade for Jack Flaherty anymore. You convinced me. I don't
Okay.
think that there's a real need to. Like, yes, could they? Yeah. Would
Sure.
it make them better? Of course.
Yeah.
Do they need to?
No.
I'd rather save my prospects for another player that I have interested for the Houston Astros. And this one I have heard nobody talk about. So it's going to feel out of the box. But just hear me out. The Astros need a first baseman, right? I want you to call up Farhan Zaidi of the San Francisco Giants. And I want you to say, Lamont Wade Jr. is going to be a free agent in 2026. He's got 1 more year of arbitration. Is he truly a part of your future there in San Francisco? Farhan might say, we do like him, but I can see what you're saying. We are willing to move him. So what will you give me? Well, now I'm switching back over to my Astros hat. We will give you Jake Bloss. There's a reason we put him in our starting rotation right now. He's 23 years old. He had great numbers in AAA. He's a very good pitching prospect with tons of years of control. And then we're also going to give you another top 12 prospect. I think that might get it done for Lamont Wade Jr., who's got a 146 WRC plus this year. But the issue with Lamont Wade Jr., rarely healthy. Luckily, he's healthy right now. Can he stay healthy for the stretch run? Get the Astros some added offense? Now, he doesn't add a ton of power, but this guy walks, and he's a professional hitter. The dude's hitting over 300 right now. He'd be a great addition to this Astros lineup. And yes, you might have to trade a guy like Jake Bloss and more to get him. I think it'd be worth it in the long run. Lamont Wade Jr. to the Astros.
I love that. I love it. And I think there's absolutely a world where the Giants move off of Lamont Wade because they probably view the Giants are in a really weird situation where
Weird
it
as
feels like they
fuck.
always want to contend, but they're not good enough to contend. Lamont Wade, now, I think his value is pretty. I don't want to say low because he gets on base as well as anybody in baseball. Like he's got
One,
three.
yeah,
I
go
know
ahead.
146 WRC. He's got 3 homers and an 840 OPS. Those don't jive. The only way it works is by getting on base, and he gets on base a lot, a lot. That's what they need. They need more foot traffic for the
Yeah.
big boppers, for the huge names in that lineup, because this is their last rodeo with the team is currently constructed. Is Bregman coming back? I have no idea. I think this could be the guy that you move for. I saw something else, and it might have been Petriello. I know Codify replied to it. I'll find it while you kind of add color to this.
Okay.
I think it was Petriello that floated the idea of trading for Isaac Paredes, playing him at first base,
Which I
and then moving him to
abs.
third when Bregman leaves.
Oh my God, he'd hit 60 home runs.
I
Here's
know.
why I didn't put him in a trade package. If Isaac Paredes is actually available, Astros don't have the farm to do it.
I think they do. I think Melton. I think it
Yeah.
would deplete them, but I think it would be Melton, Baez, and a couple others.
Is it worth it to deplete the farm? That's my thought. Like, yes, could they trade Baez and Melton, their 2 top prospects, in order to get Isaac Paredes? Like, maybe. Is that the move? It might be because Paredes fits so well there. If we're talking about a guy who, if you call him a Tropicana field merchant, where he's pull siding all of his home runs, and that's how he's getting a lot of his production, good for him. He's playing to the ballpark. Petrella also put out that if he played in Camden, he would have hit 6 home runs this year.
Yeah.
But regardless, you go to the Crawford boxes, he might hit more. I mean, he's going to be a beast there. I get it. But is it worth, would you rather trade Jake Bloss and a flyer for Lamont Wade or trade your 2 top prospects for Isaac Paredes?
Depends. Depends what your total goals are. And I think in terms of sustainable success and selling, 1-year, 2-year deals on guys, grab the one with control, grab the one that's sneaky, only 25, 26 years old in Paredes. And, let him eat there because Bregman has made a killing on the Crawford boxes. This is the full thing from Petriello. Isaac Paredes, 16 homers this year, 69 in his career. If he played every game in Baltimore, 6 this year and 27 in his career compared to 69. If he played every game in Houston, 24 homers this year at this point, 79 in his career. And he said in parentheses, trade him to Houston, let him play first base, then third base after Bregman leaves. If they ran out for 2 months and the postseason, Isaac Paredes and Alex Bregman just peppering the Crawford boxes, unicorn all you want, man. Unicorn all you want. Those are homers at your ballpark. And that's the beauty of baseball. I think he's the one guy that it would make sense to part with Melton and or Baez for.
If they are willing to do that, okay. I love the move. Like,
but they might not be, and I love Lamont Wade as a fallback. Like, call him. At least call Farhan.
Like, Lamont Wade is a higher WRC plus than Isaac Paredes does. It's in way less games.
Paredes has a higher WRC plus than Josh Naylor.
Exactly. And I like Paredes more than I like Lamont
Naylor.
Wade Jr.
Yeah, you said it, not me.
You threw me in a loop there.
Sometimes word salads help me win.
They do. All you gotta do is confuse me and I lose. You get me in so many different directions. All right, get back to it. Yes, if they feel that they want to trade their 2 top prospects for Isaac Paredes, more power to you. Do I think that's the best thing for their franchise? I don't know. I think getting Lamont Wade Jr. for far cheaper might be the better option. But, and then I'm also thinking to myself, another reason why I didn't add him to this, if he is available, someone's going to beat the Astros offer.
For sure.
That's my thinking. That's why if he is truly available, do we see the Astros winning those sweepstakes? Not really. No. So that's why I feel like, and what I try to do again with the American League East as well is not just mock like some of the best players to the best systems, but like who are the best fits And I just love the fit of Lamont Wade Jr. I love the fit of Isaac Paredes. It's just a matter of cost at that point.
Yeah.
One's way more expensive than the other. And it's not like you get Lamont Wade Jr. as a free agent after the year. You get another year of him too.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's where
and
I'm at on them.
you're taking all the ABs from John Singleton and pushing them in Lamont Wade Jr.'s direction, and that just feels more comfortable.
It does feel more comfortable, but you could also argue Singleton. No, I was going to say Singleton,
Nope.
Paredes. No, that's not going to work.
Nope.
No. All right. You ready to move on to the Seattle Mariners? So I think we kind of covered the Astros. I personally love the move for Lamont Wade Jr. And if you want to trade Baez and Melton, and then probably more,
Yeah.
maybe just those two for an Isaac Paredes,
I think it'd be more.
it might be more. So very expensive. Astros fans, let us know in the comments. Would you rather trade for Isaac Paredes? It's going to cost that much, or Lamont Wade Jr. for a package somewhat similarly to what I said. It's hard to understand fully what his value is, but in my opinion, I think this is the closest thing to it. Which deal would you rather do? Let us know in the comments below. And then I agree with you. They don't need to get Flaherty. Go get Kikuchi. Maybe Bassett, probably not Bassett. Just guys who are not that expensive. You only need for a couple more months.
Not
Go
that
win a
expensive
World Series.
prospect-wise, because
Exactly. That's
the
what I meant.
higher the salary, the cheaper they are prospect-wise.
Exactly. That's what I meant. More, you're not trading for guys with plenty of years of control where you're going to give up a ton of prospects.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move to the Seattle Mariners. Buyer, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
I think we know what they're buying, Peter.
I think we do. And I put down 3 needs: bats, more bats, and how about more bats? That's it. We don't need a starter. We could use a bullpen arm, I guess. Getting Gregory Santos back, I freaking love Gregory Santos. I think he's so disgusting. Arb and I got into a debate about the word disgusting. Was like, well, his strikeout rate doesn't give you the right to say disgusting. He's disgusting.
Do the voice. Don't half-ass the voice. Do the voice. Well, his strikeout rate.
Well, his strikeout rate isn't that.
Yeah. Good. Good. Yeah.
Pushing the glasses.
I can do them with my glasses. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't even see.
Yeah. 4 eyes. Dork.
All right. Mariners fans want to hear about the Mariners. So, like I said, bats. And I identified 3 bats. I got 2 trades that is going to make everybody feel safe. You've probably heard of these players potentially getting moved at the deadline. It'll make sense. But I got one that might knock your socks off. Again, I'm trying to find deals that nobody else has been talking about that actually make sense. Do you want to go with the hot one first, or do you want to go with the 2 ones that make more sense?
I'm in a gazpacho mood, so cold, and then we'll move to the hot soup.
Okay. I really want the Mariners to not only add bats, but I want them to add bats that don't strike out. The Mariners have the highest strikeout rate in Major League Baseball. They have one of the lowest batting averages in Major League Baseball. They might have the lowest batting average in all of Major League Baseball. So I want guys that make a lot of contact and don't strike out. So I'm telling you, Mariners fans, what I did was I queued up on Fangraphs lowest strikeout rates and picked my favorite players to make the fit possible. And what I noticed that on the Mariners right now, you don't need a catcher. Yes, you could go grab Danny Jansen from the Blue Jays, more of a backup catch role. I know you already have Mitch Garver. Maybe you could do that. Sure. Where are the holes, Mariners fans? We know where they are. Second base. I think we might be over the Polanco experiment. Maybe not. But I think we could add a second baseman.
We are. Mariners fans will tell you 150% they're done with this.
There's a part of me that still thinks he could hit a little bit.
No,
But
so I thought I did the same shit with Colton Wong, and it's not fair to Mariners fans to do the same thing with Jorge Polanco.
It isn't fair. And for them to hear that I think that maybe he could kick it in gear soon, that's the least thing they want to hear right now. And I also think that corner outfield is a massive hole. I know you got Luke Raley. I know you got Julio Rodriguez, but
Haniger's really struggling.
I'm glad you said it, because Mitch Haniger is a Seattle legend, but at this point, we got to put him on the bench. So I'm getting you guys a right fielder. I'm getting you guys a second baseman. And then I got a hot trade that we can add at the end. Lane Thomas from the Washington Nationals to the Seattle Mariners for Jonathan Clase and Michael Morales. Thoughts on that one? Lane Thomas, unrestricted free agent in 2026, arbitration next year. He's got about a 101 WRC plus, but people forget 28 home runs, 20 steals last year for the Nationals, 109 WRC plus. And what is he known for? Speed, and he doesn't strike out. I think he's a really solid player. Mariners fans may cue up the Baseball Reference, the Fangraphs, whatever, and say, he's kind of having a down year. He was hurt, banged up for a good portion of the beginning of the season, and has come back and looked better. He's not going to change the direction of the franchise, but he's part one of a 3-part series of getting bats, and he makes your team objectively better. And I don't think that he's going to cost that much. Class A, you basically just give the Nationals a young, speedy outfielder, and then you give them a pitcher as well who's got some upside. I think that gets it done.
I think that is a very good return.
Yeah.
Like, very good. If I'm Washington, I say absolutely, yeah, I'm going to look deeper into this because Jonathan Clase is a guy that I know has struggled in his first taste of Major League Baseball, but he's got a ton of speed. He's got just enough juice. He can play center field. Adding him to the stable of outfield talent that you have in Washington right now would be awesome. And Washington may view him as surplus because you have a Jacob Young who you're very excited about because he's swiping a bunch of bags, because
awesome.
you have a Dylan Cruz coming very soon, because you have, Robert Hassel, who you still are going to put, any resources into that you have because he was part of that Soto deal and you knew that there was talent there. He was a top 10 overall pick. He was a top 100 prospect at a point. I think adding him to the Nat stable could be very exciting, but Washington and Mike Rizzo could also see that as very redundant. Morales would be a good get for them as well. And I think Washington is looking for pitching talent in that organization. They obviously have pitching talent in this Mariners organization. Now, is it top end like it was? No, not necessarily. What if I swapped out Clase and put Emerson Hancock in?
Do they want him? I almost thought, I thought of that. Would you rather have Class A than Hancock?
I would rather have Clase than Hancock, but it depends on what Washington wants. It's like, no, we view Clase as redundant.
Then that's fair. Then what the Mariners can do is be like, we'll give you Hancock or we'll give you Class A as that second base. Who do you want? Just let them choose.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'd go Class A. I'd rather get the 22-year-old. More upside, in my opinion, than Hancock. But again, Hancock's a pitcher. Maybe he finds it. Remember, this is a guy coming out of college who's a really good pitcher. But just for Mariners fans, like I said, you'll look at the stats. Really struggled in April and was just injured, put up a 548 OPS. But then he comes back in May from the injury, 919 OPS, 860 OPS, 660, 688 OPS in July. That's month by month. This guy's objectively good. 93rd percentile sprint speed. He's a good player, good base runner, just 2020 guy. Put in your outfield. And I think that's what it would cost. Second trade. You ready?
Yep.
Here's part 2 of adding more bats, Mariners fans. Jonathan India from the Cincinnati Reds for Ty Pete and Teddy McGraw. How does that land with you?
I don't know if the Reds want to take on those projects.
You don't think so? I mean, first round talents, getting a lot of upside there.
Yeah, but
and I love Teddy McGraw.
McGraw's injury after injury.
Yeah.
Ty Pete is like the most untapped. You have no idea what that guy could become. He has the craziest floor to ceiling difference that there may be in minor league baseball right now. The floor could be so low, but the ceiling could be so high. Those guys are scary, and those feel like lottery tickets, do they not?
Yeah, but I feel like Ty Pete, right? Like Arm ranked him pretty high in his Mariners prospect rankings too. Like, are you overselling the lottery ticket-esque of him? Like, he definitely has maybe a little higher of a floor than you're letting on, or you really think that it could bottom out? Because I was looking at that and I was thinking, all right, Jonathan India, good player, free agent soon. Do the Reds want to take a fly? And it's not even a flyer. It's not like the 30th ranked prospect who has like one tool that's good. Like, this guy is a top prospect. He was picked 30th overall. And then Teddy McGraw as well, first round talent. Like, yeah, they're more flyers. And basically what I mean is we could throw any other prospects that you want in here. That's more the package I'm thinking about, like a top 6 Mariners prospect and like a top 13 Mariners prospect for Jonathan
Yeah.
India.
Yeah. I just think the Reds, like coming from Nick Krall's perspective, would want closer proximity guys than those
Like
two.
who'd you want
Um,
in that range? But
net,
do you think that like idea of a top 5, 6 prospect and a top 15 prospect for Jonathan India from a system like the Mariners
yeah.
makes sense as the package? Okay,
Yes.
and then we can fill in the gaps.
I think that makes perfect sense. I just don't know if the Mariners have that guy that like is there that's going to help them. I think you would have to include um somebody cut from the Ryan Bliss type cloth. But
Sure.
even then, like the Reds have just been dealt injury after injury, and the infield, it's like, oh, you don't need any help on the infield. And then all of a sudden, Santiago Espinal's DHing. It's like, oh, that's where we're at now. I don't know if the Mariners have the system to match what the Reds want. I saw the India to the Yankee, chatter on social media, and I think that makes a good bit of sense.
I don't. What? I mean, then what do
I
you do?
mean, Jemai
Deliver his
Jones let
great.
off. Jemai Jones let off, and JD Davis hit cleanup. I think you guys could use some help.
We definitely need some help. I just don't know if it's the second baseman. I think we need
No,
help.
but like he could Jemai Jones is DHing right now again.
Yeah, we're still waiting for Stan. No, I understand. Like, I don't want to trade prospects personally for the Yankees for Jonathan India, but for that's the AL East side. We're talking about the Mariners right here. But I agree with you. Like, could Jonathan India go to another team? Of course. I just think he's a great fit for the Mariners. Doesn't strike out, makes a lot of contact, plays decent defense, but they just need that bat in that lineup. They do. And yeah, I know that the Reds want outfielders. They want outfield prospects. So maybe if it's Emerson Hancock in that deal for Lane Thomas, you say we'll give you Class A instead.
I think that'd be awesome.
Do you think maybe Class A and Ty Pete for
No,
India?
that might be an overpay.
Okay, so Class A and Teddy McGraw.
Sure. Send it in, Jerome.
And then we got Hancock going to the Nationals. You got 2 pitching prospects, and then we'll throw the Nationals another guy. Maybe if they're like, we need Hancock and a flyer.
That's fine.
So the Mariners, we're cooking right now. So we just traded for Jonathan India, and we traded for Lane Thomas, and I got another one. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
What about a major leaguer for a major leaguer trade? A team that needs starting pitching for a team that needs offense. We've seen it before, and we've seen it with the Cardinals. Jordan Montgomery, Harrison Bader.
No.
Bryce Miller for Brendan Donovan.
No.
So I texted the Breed Layer pod guys, and they also said no. They also said, they were like, I just don't think that we're going to want to trade a starter in order to, because that's like our strength. Do we want to trade from that? Or do we want to trade big league talent like that in order to get Brendan Donovan?
That's the thing. Do they have the best starting rotation in baseball? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Do they have
Maybe.
a sixth that you're confident in?
Not really, but if we're talking about a playoff rotation, if you go Castillo, Gilbert, Wu, first of all, like we're poo-pooing this immediately. Like Bryce Miller, I think, is a pretty good pitcher. Underlying metrics aren't great. Coming off an ERA over 4 last year. I think he's been good this year. I think he's a good, solid pitcher, but I think he's the 5th best pitcher in this rotation. Yeah. So yes, do you have a 5 starter? No. But you have a guy who's putting up a 120 WRC plus and playing multiple positions and is clearly a good player and actually has a higher F4 this year than Bryce Miller does. Both have tons of control. Maybe the Mariners would need a little bit more, but Brendan Donovan, you love Brendan Donovan, right?
I love him.
If the Mariners really want to keep all the starting pitching and feel really good about pitching and then never actually win games, good. Or
I think you're being unfair right now. So I think that you are forecasting
clear. Hold on, just to be clear before you finish. Yeah. You're saying the Mariners say no to that, Cardinals say yes easily. Is it like unfair? Is that what you're saying? Or you think the whole premise of the deal just isn't happening?
No, I think I think the premise is kind of crazy, but I also think that the Cardinals are quicker to say yes. Because they have like enough to, kind of curb the absence of a Brendan Donovan. You answered the question for me. They don't have a sixth that they can turn to. I understand the postseason rotation. Like, I understand Bryce Miller is the one phased out of the postseason rotation if Brian Wu doesn't have another lat thing pop up after his next start.
Oh, yeah. But then they could go to
man,
3-man and still be okay because those three
sure,
are
sure.
good.
But how do you get there? You get there with the 162. You don't get there with three guys. Hell, the Brewers are going to get there with one guy.
Exactly. We need to hit.
We're not going to play this game. Like, that's my thing. If I'm the Seattle Mariners, I'm not going to play this game. Even if you move for two bats, you can't get there like with that offense, especially with Julio having like a serious ankle sprain now, and Julio not looking like Julio so far this year, or at least not looking like the best version of Julio this year. They lack so much offensively that they have put all their eggs in the we're going to win games 2-1 basket.
And how's
And
that
you
working?
need five guys to do that. It's working pretty damn well at this point because they're buyers. Does it look like shit because they have the third lowest OPS in baseball? Yeah, it does. But we're not talking about them as a team that's trying to blow it up. We're talking about them as a team that's trying to improve to further validate their postseason legitimacy.
The reason I bring it up is Bryce Miller the guy that's getting them to the postseason? Like, if they traded Bryce Miller for Brendan Donovan, you think that hurts their playoff chances more than helps? If you do, that's fine.
I think it
I
nets
just disagree.
neutral, but I think it nets neutral, but next year, I think it hurts them.
That could be true. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see if Bryce Miller is, he threw 130 innings last year, 111 this year. He's been a good pitcher. No doubt about it. But I also love Brendan Donovan. That's also partly where it comes from, is I think Brendan Donovan would be such a good fit for the Mariners. Can play
totally
all over the
agree with
diamond,
you.
doesn't strike out. She's such a solid hitter.
I
And I
totally
think
agree with you. I'm just not moving one of the five guys in the best
that's
rotation
fair.
in baseball.
And the Marine Layer Pod guys said the same thing. They actually said if one guy were potentially to move, could be Luis Castillo in terms of just the money that he's owed and how big the package would be. And they don't think that either of them are going to get dealt.
Right.
I just more wanted to bring it up for the thought exercise because I do think that the Mariners rotation would still be one of the best in baseball if Emerson Hancock was the 5 instead, or maybe they did a small trade for a Yusei Kikuchi, bring him back, or one of these arms that won't cost a lot. Maybe then you go that route so you can fill the 5 spot and then trade for another bat and use your surplus of arms because you still have Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and Brian Wu. Not every team can say that. You still have one of the best rotations. And then, yeah, your 5th starter day won't be as great, but your offense will be better. So maybe you can win those games. That's my thought process here. So, yes, just Bryce Miller for Brendan Donovan. Maybe we would need to add a little bit more, but I think that's the direction that the Mariners should consider taking. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I appreciate the effort to improve the lineup, and I love the first 2 targets. But moving 20% of the best rotation in baseball scares me.
I told you it was going to scare you.
Especially when there's no 6. If there was a 6th, then I'm like, oh, this guy could be as good as, the 5. I just don't see that. I see the front 3. I see Castillo, Kirby, Gilbert, and I see Wu. I see Miller, and then nothing. Like Hancock, no disrespect to Emerson Hancock, but he's not at this point. If he's throwing in a big moment, I don't think he's 70% of the pitcher that Bryce Miller is.
What if then we trade Bryce Miller for Brendan Donovan, then flip 2 decent prospects for Yusei Kikuchi, bring him back? Are we feeling good then?
You
then the lineup.
You have Bryce Miller.
But then you have Brendan Donovan.
Why wouldn't
you have Brendan Donovan and Yusei Kikuchi for 2 prospects and Bryce Miller?
But why wouldn't you move the prospects for Brendan Donovan?
I don't think the Cardinals would trade Brendan Donovan for prospects. That's why I was looking at some of the Cardinals bats and I was like, they're not going to move for prospects. They're trying to compete. Like, I think when we do the buyers sellers for the National League Central, they're probably going to be buyers. That's why I was like, I didn't think it would happen. And they have so many. They also need starters. It just made so much sense in my brain. But I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And before we move to the Texas Rangers, let's take a quick break to just bring it all back in. All right, Texas Rangers, let's review your trade deadline. They come into this episode 49-52. I didn't know what to put down for them. I went through their entire team, and it was one of the more confusing exercises I've gone through. Because I look at the Texas Rangers roster and I say, do you need a center fielder? Like, I know Leody Taveras has not performed offensively this year. He's got an 80 WRC plus. He had a 98 WRC plus last year. He's known for defense. Are you going to replace him? Are you replacing Nathaniel Lowe at first base? No. Josh H. Smith is like your best player. Obviously not, but he's been awesome for them.
Yeah.
In the outfield, then you have Adolis, you have Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter's going to come back, and Jonah Jaime catcher. Are we adding to this offense, Jack? Like, what, should we trade for Bellinger in center or Luis Robert? Like, I just don't think that's happening.
No, I don't think so. If anything, you see a bench move, like you see a move for just a rando hitter. But at the end of the day, like,
This is the
that's
team.
the thing. Like, you look at their bench, like Kisner's hitting a $155, or Nelas is not bigly ready. I don't think Robbie Grossman's hitting 217. Jano's hitting 210. Like, they don't have anybody that's a spark plug off that bench. And as it stands right now, like Justin Foscue is like, hey, your show, man, you're going to play very consistently. And it's like, do you want that? He's been in AAA for a long time. If he was, big league caliber, I think he would be up there. I don't think that they make any moves here because you go to spring training next year with Young at third and Carter in the outfield, and you feel damn good about what you got.
Exactly. That's why I don't think we're going to add to the offense. So then I move to the starting rotation. Are you adding arms? You have like 9 of them. And you're also going to get back DeGrom, Malley at some point. You already got Scherzer back. You got Eovaldi. And then we could go down the list of all the other arms like Gray and Heaney and Dunning and all these guys. Like, do you see them adding starting pitching? No.
No, I think they could even subtract.
And then you're talking about the bullpen. Though they could go bargain hunting, but are they going to be the team to trade for Mason Miller? Kirby Yates has been a great closer for them. So they would need, if they say, well, we don't believe that Yates can be the lockdown guy. I don't know why you'd say that because he's been the bright spot of this bullpen. And then you also have David Robertson. So in my opinion, I think that the Rangers are more likely to almost do nothing or soft sell some guys. I mentioned Nathan Eovaldi potentially going to the Red Sox. I actually mentioned that one on the AL East episode. Eovaldi for Miguel Bleis. A little swap. Thought that would be kind of interesting.
That'd be kind of weird.
Kind of weird. Get Eovaldi back in Fenway, playoff performer. But then there's another part of me when I really go through the Rangers. I'm sorry. I think it's going to be a pretty boring deadline. Like, I'd like to say, oh, they need a center fielder. Here's our trade for Luis Robert Jr. Here it is. I don't want to do that to you. I want to be honest. Like, yeah, I have some ideas for other teams when they actually need it. But for the Rangers, I've come to the conclusion that they may add a bullpen arm or two. And I just can't see that. There's no way they trade Scherzer. Like, there's no, maybe you trade Andrew Heaney, David Robertson, Lorenzen, maybe. Don't you feel like this is their team and we're either going to win or not?
The only thing I see them doing is moving off of some of the pricier rentals that could be. Like, somebody wants John Gray, somebody wants to pay that money, great. Let's get out from under that.
Yeah.
I think that they're always going to be asking in free agency. I don't think they're worried about replenishing and they're worried about control. I think that they're going to attack free agency every single year because they can convince people to come live in Dallas and come play at that ballpark and come have Semien and Seager up the gut behind arms, especially with pitchers. I think that's a very fun place to be a pitcher.
Yeah.
And the vibe seems good there. Like, it seems like an old school fun vibe. And I know that a lot of pitchers really like that. I could see them move off in Eovaldi. I love Eovaldi. Like, love him.
And I want to keep Eovaldi on the Rangers. Like,
I
love
like
Eovaldi.
Him on the Red Sox would be electric.
Would be great.
I think they could move off of a John Gray. If somebody wants to pay a little bit more than they were expecting for Lorenzen, go ahead and do it. If somebody wants to pay a little bit more for Heaney than they were expecting, go ahead and do it. I think Chris Young is going to take calls on everybody.
Yeah.
And when he feels like somebody's offering an overpay, because I do think that this is a seller's market, because there are not very many concrete sellers. If this is a seller's market, I think Chris Young might be surprised on a couple of return offers for somebody that he doesn't really view as being a major factor in 25 and 26. And I think those are the guys that you could see moved. So, like David Robertson, if somebody wants to like give up a better prospect than you were ever imagining for David Robertson, go ahead and do it. He's 39 years old.
Shout out David Robertson. Gets traded so much. He's up there in age. He's throwing 90 miles an hour, and he's just like, I want to keep playing baseball. I feel like most people at his position would just call it quits at this point. And that's more of a testament to that dude obviously loving baseball. Shout out David Robertson.
Next time you watch a Rangers game, first team all Cavs. Look at his Cavs.
They're legit. I remember him on the Yankees.
They're great, and like they've gotten better.
Do you think he's a runner? How do you think he gets there?
I don't know. I think he does a lot of like tippy toe walk.
Tippy toe walks. So I'm disappointed because I feel like I just gave Rangers fans the most boring deadline preview of all time, but I don't know what to tell you. I can hype you up with things that just aren't going to happen, things I don't believe. But I would never do that to you people. I would never do that. So we're just going to sit here and move on unless you got anything else to say. I think it's going to be a pretty boring deadline for the Rangers.
I think it's going to be very boring. And again, I think that they'll take
Which is not
calls.
a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing at all. I think that they can get really hot and compete for a final wild card spot.
Me too.
I also think that they could, just kind of hang out at 500 and pack it in and get ready for next year. They have not gotten the contributions that I was expecting them to get from Evan Carter.
Yep.
Young hasn't played. Like Josh Young in this lineup would be a game changer. And I know that Josh H. Smith has been awesome, but Young in this lineup and Carter good would be a game changer.
Yeah.
I
disappointed with Adolis.
Yeah, Adolis has been not good. Leody Taveras was not great, but like I wasn't expecting Leody to replicate what he did last year. I wasn't frankly expecting Jonah Heim to replicate what he did last year, but Jonah Heim you could say has been disappointing, at least compared to his 2023. I think they were probably expecting contribution from Jack Leiter in a better way than they got this year. It was 2 bad starts. Like I would love to see Leiter recalibrate and start some games for him next year. So I'm thinking, hey, we're playing with house money in 24, but let's get after it in 25.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the Los Angeles Angels. They come into this at 44 and 57, obvious seller. And you know what's funny? If the Angels do this right, they can have an amazing deadline. Because they have some very interesting pieces that me personally, I would want if I'm a contender.
Yeah.
Tyler Anderson, I'll take him. I know we got some underlying numbers issues, but if he doesn't cost that much, I would want him. I would really want Reed Detmers. And I think the Angels are going to get calls from a lot of teams about the lefty that they sent down. Yeah. Luis Rengifo, I already mocked to the Yankees. Carlos Estevez, I also mocked to the Yankees in the same trade. Luis Garcia and Hunter Strickland are pretty decent relievers. And Taylor Ward is a very good outfielder. They could get a lot here. But will they actually sell all of these pieces? That's like the only question I have, because Angels fans, we got a deadline here. An exciting one where we can sell off some solid pieces and get good prospects, and we start forming a core with a plan. You see how my eyes change when I can see something in the distance. All I ever want from a team is a plan. I want the Angels to come out and say, these are the guys available. Now, a lot of the guys I mentioned, including Kevin Pillar, were mentioned by Jeff Passan as the Angels taking calls on these guys. Good. I love that. We make fun of you all the time, Angels. When you do something right, hell yeah. But the thing is, I'm not patting you on the back yet because you haven't done it. But this is an opportunity here. And you might say I'm overreacting. I don't think I am. You can get a good chunk of prospects for Taylor Ward. What would it cost for Taylor Ward? Just curious. What do you think?
That's a good question. I think that Taylor Ward would be an excellent Pittsburgh Pirate, and I think it would probably be two of their legit pitching prospects. So like Braxton Ashcraft and maybe Barco.
Probably
Like
Bubba Chandler.
no,
I know. We watched him at the
but like
Futures game. He was so good.
Ashcraft and Barco for Taylor Ward would be awesome for the Angels.
Might even take a little more.
May
Yeah.
very well may take more.
And
But
that's one
man,
of
like
the guys. Like Tyler Anderson's going to get a decent chunk of change, right? If we keep
yeah,
going
I
down,
don't I
Carlos
don't think it's gonna be
Estevez, I would
that
trade
steep.
for. Detmers, I
I
would
think
trade for.
I think Taylor Ward is probably the crown jewel of this. Like Detmers, if Detmers is moved, he's the crown jewel of the Angels. Burn it down, let's get it going again. The rebuild. But Ward, I think, is that guy for me, and I think Ward is going to cost a bit more than many people may think because he has been flying under the radar. He does not play an exciting brand of baseball, but he plays a good brand of baseball, and there are a lot of teams that really want a corner outfielder. Um, Ward is probably the guy that like gets them a legit return. They need pitching, man, because they churn through it like nobody's business. They need starting pitching prospects. They need prospects in general. Like this farm system might be the worst in baseball. Um, if only Brandon Drury wasn't hitting a buck 64 and slugging like 200,
Yeah, he's
because
just
Drury could get
horrific.
them something on a rental.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I think they should if they did this right, they should trade absolutely everybody,
Yep.
see what you can build, and like, hey, run out Neto, Shonawell, Hoppy offensively, and just see what's going on. If somebody wants Joe Adele for a couple of middling prospects, go ahead and do it. That kind of thing.
Would you trade Joe Adele for middling prospects?
Yeah, absolutely. He's out of
Yeah,
options.
but what if he taps into his potential?
Yeah, I've been saying that for 6 years, 5 years, 6 years.
He looks like a top 10 player in baseball, just off looks. The dude is a train engine.
Yeah.
Choo choo.
I know.
Comes Joe Adele. Except
That was great. Yeah, that
it's
was
not
really
that
good.
loud. Yeah.
Choo-choo.
Anything else on them? Like, I think Carlos Estevez is going to net them multiple decent prospects. Detmers, I think, could get them more than most people think. I think Tyler Anderson gets them multiple prospects. I think Taylor Ward gets them multiple prospects. You could package Garcia and Strickland together. You could send them off for one prospect each. Like we're talking about you can get 10 prospects at this deadline and come back humming. I like this. I think the Angels are in a good spot. Just don't screw it up. All right. Let's move on to the Oakland A's. They come into the trade deadline 41-62, and they're sellers. Should they trade Brent Rooker? I guess they should, right? Because he's hitting like a home run every single day, but he's got years of control here. But he's a little bit older. You got to trade him, don't you?
Yeah, you absolutely do. I think you got to trade pretty much everybody with value except for Mason Miller. Like I think you can hold on to Mason Miller.
You don't think they should?
I think you have to be blown away to move him.
I think you should. I think they should move him immediately, personally.
Wow.
And you had a rant about Scooble that I 1 billion trillion% agreed with. I was like, bars. This one I disagree with. What do we talk about all the time? These freaking relievers. Now that he's the next big thing, he's 103. He's the best alive. Trade him. That's what I would do with relievers. I'd trade him immediately. And it's not because I don't think that he could potentially keep this going and be an incredible reliever for a very long time. But he's a reliever. I'm sorry. I don't value them that highly. So if they get a very good package for a reliever, yeah, I'm taking it. Like Scott Efros, right? Years of control of the Yankees, we traded Wesneski for him. Like he's barely pitched for us. And
I
he
know.
doesn't throw 103. And Mason Miller has had injury concerns before, and we know about the illness as well with the diabetes too. You never know, right? So, and then you add on top of it that he's a reliever. I would trade him.
So the type 1 diabetes diagnosis, I actually like all the articles that I've read and listening to Aram sit down with him on the call up, like that helped him get his body in line because he figured out what was going on, like why his weight was
take that out then. Take that out. I'm just saying there's still arm issues there, and he's still a reliever, which
for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that he's a reliever now when he was a starting pitcher last year and was an injury prone starting pitcher last year. I will say I am with you in terms of not valuing relievers that highly when they're 96, 97 with a slider. What I do value very highly is 104 because there are very few guys on planet Earth that throw 104. I think when we say, oh, relievers are so volatile, it's because 96, 97 somehow like flattens out and then it gets hit. And like the slider loses some of that bite and then it gets hit. If Mason Miller's at 104, like, listen, you did the song and dance with Chapman for way longer than anybody should have. You knew first fastball. If it was 101 plus, you were fine, right?
Yep. I
But
said
if
that
it
on the
was,
show, yeah.
yeah, if it was 99 or slower, you were
Clockwork.
fucked.
Yep, it was clockwork.
So if Mason Miller is coming out here and he's throwing 102, it's like, oh, you know you're fine.
And how long does that last?
I mean, he's not old by
Yeah,
any stretch.
100%.
Chapman's what, 37 years old and he just hit 103?
Yeah. No, I mean, what if he becomes Yohan Duran, Mason Miller? Like, could totally do that.
He might be Yohan Duran at this point.
But what if you could get like 3 great prospects for him? Like, for example, from the Orioles.
That's what I'm saying. You have to be blown away. And I think there are very few teams that can blow you away.
I just don't think you need to be blown away. I think if you get a very solid deal for him, I think you go for it.
What does very solid deal look like?
We talked about it for the Orioles one. Let's see if I have it exactly written down. Yes, I have it right here. So it was Dylan Beavers, Cade Povich, Mac Horvath, and Judd Fabian. It's fucking 4 prospects for a reliever.
A lot. What did you guys settle on with that?
We kind of settled on they're doing it. Like we had the Orioles trading for Garrett Crochet and Mason Miller.
Jesus.
Kind of sick.
Yeah, very sick.
Kind of sick.
Yeah, I think that's about the price. And that's a lot. That's not something that really any other organization is going to match for a relief pitcher.
And the Orioles wouldn't feel it, really.
Yeah.
They'd feel it kind of.
They feel it kind of, but like at the end of the day, it's like, oh, why do you need Fabian and Beavers when you have Bradfield and Honeycutt now? it's crazy. They restock like nobody's business.
So, for example, when we're talking about guys that they shouldn't trade, like I don't think they should trade Skubal unless someone is offering. I mean, if the Orioles say we'll give you, if the Orioles say exactly, you would need a Soto type deal. Mason Miller, I don't think you would need a big deal.
Yeah,
but if I get a big deal, I'm doing it. I don't need to be blown away. I just need a big deal
for sure.
Yeah. So, let's go back to the Oakland A's. So I wrote down Mason Miller as a trade chip. I think he should be included in here.
Rooker needs to be gone. Somebody's going to pay a lot for Rooker, and Rooker's going to get traded.
What? Okay, I was going to make some mocks. What is his value?
A lot.
I don't know. I know it's a lot, but like how much is a lot? Because he's hitting as well as anybody in Major League Baseball. And he's got some years of control, but he's older. DH mostly. What is that? What is that on the market? I don't know.
I think it's 2 guys in your top 10 in your organization and 1 guy in the top 15. I think it's 4. I think it's 4, 6, 12. Like, think about it like that.
You don't think he's going to need, you don't think the A's are going to need a top 100 guy for him?
No, I think 4 can be a top 100 guy in a good system.
Like, maybe I'm wrong. I kind of thought 2 top 100 guys for him. He's hitting the fucking shit out of the ball and has been doing it for a couple years now. I know, but he can play outfield a little bit. You can stash him in right and just pray. That's what Arm said for the Braves. I thought that was funny. Stash him in right and pray.
You could just pray. Yeah. You could do the Nick Castellanos thing where it's like, hopefully he doesn't suck.
Look at the offenses around Major League Baseball right now. Like, this guy would immediately be one of the best hitters on it on most teams.
Correct.
That's going to cost a lot.
Might be 2 top 100 guys.
I know. But we could be off. Like, one of the hardest guys to price, I think, that there is.
Yeah, because like it's almost impossible to price a DH, especially an older DH that has a bunch
25. He's on a 25-year-old DH with years of control. He's like a 30-year-old DH with years of control.
He's what? He's 28, 29 years old.
I think he's 29.
Yeah.
29.
Yeah.
Okay. And then as we continue to move to, we got Abraham Toro. Well, I think can net him a flyer.
Andujar. I think Andujar can net them
Just going to
something.
say that as well. What would you trade for Andujar right now? What a grab by the A's. I always believed in you, Andujar.
Any team should do this. Hey, the 2023 Indianapolis Indians team MVP, Miguel Andujar.
Crazy.
Such a nice guy. Did I ever show you that photo of him down in the DR that I took?
No.
I was at the ballpark in Santo Domingo, and I was like, Miggy. And he came over because he was in Indy last year and clean dap up. And I was like, let me take a photo of you for the people in Indy. And he steps back, like he doesn't lean up against the netting. He steps back and just gives me the thumbs up. It was so good.
I'm always going to have a soft spot for Miguel Andujar.
Oh,
Yeah, I think he's going to net. There's a couple of relievers outside of Mason Miller that I think are intriguing. Guys like TJ McFarland, Lucas Urseg, we've talked about plenty, and Scott Alexander.
Urseg, move him. He's got value.
But even these like older relievers, these lefties, like they're pretty decent. I think the A's could get a pretty package for them, but similarly to the Angels, I think the A's are in a very good spot here. You can get a mountain for Mason Miller. You can get a mountain for Brent Rooker. And you could get some solid prospects for guys like Andujar, TJ McFarland, Lucas Urseg, Scott Alexander. They could come away from this deadline really, really strong because you're watching the A's core kind of being built here. Not fully here, but Lawrence Butler looks great at the top of the lineup. I know Geloff is moving up and down. Like there's a lot of swing and miss in his game, but I still think that he's a pretty solid player. You're just starting to see the puzzle pieces fit in. And I still think that the A's right now are better than the Angels. I don't know what your opinion is on that.
I think that they're in a more fun spot than the Angels.
That's maybe what I'm thinking here too. But I think you just keep developing the core and you're trading off some of these pieces, and Brent Rooker's going to get you a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And I think you should trade him now. I think this is the perfect time to do so because he does have those years of control. And if you don't view him as a real part of the future, which maybe you do, but he is getting up there in age. That's it. That's all I got for the American League West. What do you think?
I like it, man. I think that this is it's a head scratcher of a division. I think more
Very
so than
tough. Very tough.
Because the Rangers, like, again, they might just very well do nothing.
I think the Rangers might be the biggest head scratcher, like among all teams that we're going to cover.
I think that the Pirates and the Reds are very much head scratchers too.
So keep that on the docket. Trade deadline previews. We're going to be doing it every single day up until the deadline. And just another reminder here, folks, the National League Central Stadium Tour flash sale. Normally 60. It's now 50% off, down to 30, and then another $5 off using code JUSTBASEBALL. Come join us. It's going to be an awesome tour. You can find more information in the episode description. For Jack McMullen, I'm Peter Oppel. We would greatly appreciate a 5-star review if you've been enjoying these episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to support this show, as well as hit that big red subscribe button on YouTube. Fans of the Astros, Mariners, Rangers, A's, and Angels, let us know. Did we overpay for some guys? Fans of other teams, did we underpay? Do you need more? I love the comment sections. What's going on with these trade deadline? A lot of fans combating with each other, giving their opinions, and that's why I love the fans of the Just Baseball Show. You're all smart. You get it. So let us know in the episode description. From Jack McMullen, I'm Peter Oppel. Again, we thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. And with that, thank you, everybody.